Who's a caregiver? You, me, your neighbor. Anyone can find themselves in a caregiving role. 1 in 5 Canadians are caregivers. That's 20% of our population. What is a caregiver? Caregiver is a person who provides informal and unpaid personal care to another person living with a challenge due to an illness, an injury, or aging. Often the overwhelming experience results in stress, anxiety, and fatigue. My name is Joan McDonald, and my education was in nursing. And I left that path to go into business until my mom got sick. My mom was a really active senior. She was taking courses at university, she was folk dancing, she was traveling, and she broke her hip. So from that breaking her hip, her inactivity accelerated her heart disease. I was so lucky to be able to be caring for her. Went through feelings of being alone and scared and anxious and angry and hateful and being in denial and holding my own pity party. But I wouldn't have changed it for the world. My path changed again back to nursing and helping seniors and their families through the maze of healthcare, which brings me here today. So today I'm talking about protecting yourself. Need to talk about the emotional journey of caregiving, the physical demands of caregiving, some coping strategies, and some caregiver tips. Things to consider. First of all, you have to look at the needs of the person you're caring for, the level of care that's required, and I'll tell you that that level changes all the time, that status changes all the time. The preferences of the person. It's really important to make sure that that person is part of your team. They're the decision making, they want what their wants and desires are. The support network, the help that your family and friends can provide. The eligibility for services, for example, through the CCAC, Community Care Access Center. Availability of options in your community, adult day programs, volunteers, that sort of options that are available. And of course, the big thing, the affordability. There are the emotional journey of caregiving, many rewards and joys of caregiving. Giving back to someone who cared for you. Enjoy a sense of accomplishment and satisfaction from doing a job well done. Developing new skills and knowledge. All of a sudden, you're the one who's the advocate for this person, and it's maybe a new skill for you. Increasing compassion and personal growth. Making friends through support groups. Creating memories, and finding joy in the present. And I think any caregiver has to realize that the present is really important, because the future could be upsetting, but you still have to stay in the moment. So this is a case study of a client that we dealt with, Dave and Sue, and 3 years ago Sue was diagnosed with Alzheimer's. She had an increased loss of memory and a decrease of language skills. And Sue was aware enough that she could talk about Alzheimer's, knew she had Alzheimer's, knew the progression. And the thing that saved both of those, Dave and Sue, was that they both went to support groups. And David found it so helpful to express his frustrations and guilt. Often feeling angry and frustration is normal. Angry about your relationship with the older person is changing. Frustrated, the inability to meet all their needs. And again, that balancing act of the caring role in your own personal lives. Do something positive for yourself. Ask for help. Write a journal. And anyone who is a caregiver has a journal for the medical aspect of it. This is a journal about what you're feeling, the happy times, the sad times. It's really helpful. Exercise, going for a walk, get out there and ride your bike. Talk with someone you can trust. Depression. Caregivers are 2 times more likely to be diagnosed with depression. And caregivers are 3 times more likely to be diagnosed with depression when caring for a person with dementia. Caregivers, it's important to know they are not alone. People who truly don't live it, don't and can't grasp it. So have a support group. Again, ask for help. Isolation. Feeling trapped, resentful, having no time for yourself, missing your routine. What to do? Join a support group. Have a schedule to get out. Go to the senior center, play bridge, have lunch with a friend. Plan a caregiver so that you can be off duty in your own home. Plan a respite stay. I've done the best that I can. And I think all caregivers have to realize that I have done the best I can. So this is another case that I worked with. Mary and Joe had been married for 40 years, and Joe started to get more forgetful. He started to repeat things over and over. The bills started not being paid. Everything was a mess. And Mary's reaction to this was, he's not the man I married. I don't know what he's going to be doing today. I don't know what he's going to be doing tomorrow. He says things that are so hurtful. It's a very cruel disease. Joe was diagnosed with dementia, and it was Mary's job to look after him. And she had a really hard time to go and make that jump to have somebody else come and look after Joe. Joe finally actually has been admitted into long-term care, and it's been a huge transition for this couple from that. A few guiding principles in managing dementia. The behavior that the person has is not intentional, but it's meaningful. And that's like if Joe would say, he actually went to an adult day program, and the bus was coming at 9 o'clock, and he would say to Mary at 7:30, when's the bus coming? And so she would say, it's coming at 9 o'clock, don't worry, we have lots of time. And 2 minutes later, he'd say, when's the bus coming? And so he said, it's okay, it's coming at 9 o'clock. And I'll tell you that this back and forth. And for Joe, it was meaningful. He wanted to make sure he was ready for the bus to come at 9 o'clock. For Mary, it drove her crazy. But it was meaningful to him. Keep your goals in mind. Her goal for Joe was to make sure that he stayed at home. And it was really hard for her because her commitment to him was to stay at home, look after him, and that move to long-term care was just a very hard thing. You need to analyze as a caregiver, is the behavior a problem? And remember that a person with dementia cannot respond to logic. They don't know what's right or what's wrong, so you have to remember that. Routine equals comfort. And I'll tell you, anyone who has dealt with a dementia client, has taken out of their environment and moved them someplace else, realizes that that change, that routine, taking them out of that, is devastating to that person with dementia. So be aware that that's really important, that routine, and keep it going. Success may be about accepting rather than trying to change things. And remember, you're doing the best you possibly can. The physical impact of caregiving. Caring for someone can be very time-consuming, exhausting, and rewarding. Physical care of people we love is one of the greatest gifts that we give to them and also to ourselves as caregivers. Time may be spent helping to get them in and out of bed, around the house, helping to the bathroom. Tall or short, strong or weaker people can transfer a person. So I'm just sort of put this out that if you're learning how to transfer people, you really need to have some guidance in doing so. But you always tell the person what you're going to do before you transfer them. When lifting someone, your head, shoulders, and hips are in a straight line. You don't pivot from the hips, and you bend your knees, and that's how you help to lift somebody. Have your feet about a foot apart for better stability, and the closer you stand to the person, the better it is, and it's less strain on your muscles. Try and do a few stretching muscles with your legs, back, and stomach muscles before any lifting or assisting. Other assistive devices that are really helping in transferring is transfer boards, transfer belts, and there's a lazy board chair that actually propels people slowly up from the seat, actually moves up and puts the person on their feet, and it really helps. So just a couple of things. Learn the proper techniques. It could be through your case manager from CCAC, it could be from a nurse or physiotherapist, an occupational therapist can help you do that. Just make sure you know the proper techniques. A chiropractor can also tell you how to do that. Try and get some exercise to keep your strength up, and try to do stretching exercises before you transfer. Cost. I put this in because this is something that I address every day. And the first thing is, are there possible free services provided by the Community Care Access Center? CCAC. Community Care Access Center is our services that is paid for by OHIP and our tax dollars. So they are free services, and it's really important for the person to be linked to those services. And they provide a case manager that come out and do an assessment, and they start off with personal care. CCAC does an amazing job with nursing services. The attendant care part of it is it's hard to get. It used to be many more hours. Cost of private caregiving and agency staff, any benefit plan from a group insurance plan, there may be dollars that you can get for elder care through that. Government tax credits, the caregiver tax credit. So if you're providing care for assistance to your parents, and that's grocery shopping and meal prep and all the things, transportation, activities of daily life, and they have a low income of $14,000 to $17,000, and then you can put the tax credit on your income tax. So it is about $600 a year that you can get as a credit, and you can go back 10 years and you can get up to $5,000. And there's no medical approval that's required for that. The other is the disability tax credit form. Now I have a couple of copies of those. This is when a parent or a senior has marked restrictions in their mobility, sight, hearing, or mental capacity. And if they are on limited income, the credit can be transferred to the adult children. The degree of disability has to be approved by the Canada Revenue Association. But for this, you can get up to $10,000 worth of credits. So it's something certain to look into. And I just found out, I was talking to a lawyer the other day, and he said if you exceed it by $1 when you put your taxes in, they won't accept any of it. So I thought, oh, well, there you go. 9 ways to make caregiving easier. And this is, don't suffer in silence. Don't feel guilty. Do join support groups. Don't forget to sleep. Do find time for yourself. Don't neglect your family. Learn your options. Relief from caregiving through respite care. And don't overlook the benefits. The only thing I didn't tell you is who I work for. And that was a slide that we flipped over. I work for a company called the Care Guide. And the Care Guide is a publication that's in Alberta, BC, and all of Ontario. It's talking about senior housing and care options. We also have a website called thecareguide.com. It's a great resource. The seniors love this book. The adult children love the website. So it's how you can look up different options. And I work for a division of that company called CareConnect. And CareConnect is a helpline for seniors as well as case management services. So I'd like to thank you for being here, and thank Mary Bart for all her hard work and dedication. Thank you.